Hello, I'm Debbie Wood, Healthcare Services Partner at MHA Moore & Smalley and Chairman of AISMA. In this AISMA Practice Index Finance Clinic, I've been asked, what are the VAT implications if staff, including people working on 0 hours contracts, are paid through each participating practice payroll from money received by the PCN lead practice? I've also got a related question about a PCN who's given the vaccination work to their federation. They want to know what the implications are they need to think about. So firstly, it's important to remember that VAT is a complex subject and advice should always be taken from a VAT specialist on the specific circumstances involved. My answer will be in the context of a broad overview. And as a general point, all income earned by a practice for the delivery of its GMS, core PMS activities will, including enhanced services, be covered by the medical services exemption for VAT. So any share that the practice receives of their PCN funding, that will not be subject to VAT. If you're a dispensing practice, you'll be familiar with the need to be VAT registered because you supply dispensed drugs which are 0 rated. In some larger practices, there could be a significant level of other services being supplied over and above the core contract, which together are deemed as standard rated supplies at the 20% VAT rate and might require the practice to register because that total has exceeded the registration threshold. The first part of the question, let's assume that all the staff employed by each practice only provide services for that one practice, and that the payments made to the practice by the lead practice are the direct reimbursements from the additional role reimbursement scheme. In that case, the lead practice is effectively acting as an agent in passing across the PCN funds that belong to the individual practice employing the staff, and there should be no immediate VAT implications. However, if payments are made out of general PCN funding, the core DES payments, for example, and they're not funding those specific ARRS staff, maybe the employees on the 0 hours contracts, for example, then consideration needs to be given as to whether the funds used belong directly to the practice itself that's employing the staff, or whether those funds are coming effectively from the other PCN practice's share. If it's the practice own share, then there's no VAT implications. But if it's effectively a cross-charge from one practice to another, then there does need to be a consideration of the VAT implications. So if practice A employs the staff and supplies the staff effectively to practice B, receiving a payment from practice B's share of the PCN money, then that supply could be one that's subject to VAT, and we need to know in that situation whether that supply can be classed as an exempt medical service with no VAT, or if it's classed as a supply of staff, which would be at the standard rate. If practice A is already VAT registered, they would need to ensure where there's a supply of staff that that payment is inclusive of the 20% VAT charge. And if practice A is not VAT registered, then by making a supply of staff, they need to consider whether their total potential income subject to VAT has exceeded the threshold, and they may need to consider to then make a registration. If you need to find out about how to go about registering for VAT, have a look on the gov.uk website. So how do you know if the medical service exemption applies? There are a number of tests that need to be looked at. Firstly, is the service provided by a registered medical practitioner qualified to perform that service? And if not, is the person performing the service directly supervised by such a registered medical practitioner? and under the control, in this example, of Practice A? And does the service meet the criteria overall of being primarily for the protection, maintenance or restoration of the health of the patient? Providing those tests are satisfied, then there should be a medical exemption for that service. Now, turning to the second part of the question regarding the Federation contracted to provide the vaccination service, I think it's fair to assume that the process set up for the masks vaccination campaign is intended to be an exempt medical service. It's dealt with as an enhanced service, so I would expect there to be no VAT issues. The PCN needs to ensure that they have a contract for services in place with the Federation on behalf of the underlying GP practices to effectively subcontract the service delivery under the enhanced service specification terms, and we would normally see that dealt with as part and parcel of the vaccination collaboration agreement. Also, it'd be useful for the Federation to check that their CQC registration covers the activities that they're going to be undertaking and whether or not they need to take out any additional insurance cover. So these subjects are complex, and if you would like to follow up and be directed to a local VAT specialist, please do get in touch with one of your local AISMA members. Thank you for watching.